Okay, and we're live. So, hello everyone. Hey, Nerese, Name, Susie, and we are doing part 2 today. So hopefully we'll have a few more people join as we go along. And so the reason I wanted you back, Jonathan, was because after we finished our last one, you made mention that there were things that you forgot. So I'm
sure there'll be other things after this one too.
I was so engrossed with chatting with you and just mind blown with your experiences. So I needed to jump all over that and get you back on and ask more questions about your experiences. Now I'm hoping that the chat is working. Can everyone hear and see us okay? Your experiences. So I needed to.
Apparently I turned us on.
Okay, I might jump into my iPad YouTube because my chat is not moving now.
I will turn on the volume and see. Looks like we're live. Oh, did we lose Jen?
Oh, I'm back. Okay.
My chat is frozen.
Okay, I think mine is working now. Okay. Hey, Sidana and Sidana, I have to apologize to you again because Jonathan and I changed the time by half an hour so we could make sure Cindy got her live. And I was thinking, it's all cool. This is awesome this week. We'll get off. We'll be done by the time Sidana does her live. And then I noticed this morning that you're doing it earlier than last Friday. So it was not intentional, and I'm so sorry. Hey, Ginger Faye and Betsy and Cindy. Okay. Toe.
Yeah, I'm kind of trying to keep up with the chat here since mine is frozen.
Okay.
I mean, I guess I could jump out and jump back in, but.
Yeah, I refreshed, which is why it kind of took me off. But my chat's working now. So.
Okay, I'm going to try refreshing real quick then.
Okay.
So I don't have to keep looking.
Name. Oh, hang on. I've got to let Jonathan in again.
And I see the chat now. That's good. I don't know why it froze on us.
All right. Is everyone good now? Can everyone see both of us? Hear both of us?
Oh, looks like Ginger Faye saw my Walk in the Woods video.
Yeah, I haven't watched that one yet.
It's only like 9 minutes. I had to stop in the middle and carry the old man.
What kind of dog do you have?
He's a Boston Terrier.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I think my chat's frozen again, so I'm going to jump into YouTube as well and just pull it up that way. All right.
Now. Yeah, the chat's frozen again on StreamYard, but I can see it here on.
Yeah, so I'm just going to have to kind of look down at my iPad too. All right, so everyone who came in after I sort of started, I wanted to do part 2 with Jonathan. As soon as hey Michelle, mentioned to me there was a bunch of stuff he forgot last time, and how intrigued I know everyone watching was. So I wanted to get him back on for part 2. So let's get into it. One of the things you were talking about that you forgot to say was going to Hindu in year 6 and 7. So tell us about that.
Well, it was a private school in California on Mount Madonna Hill, and it's a Hindu school started by we always called him Babaji, so I can't remember what his actual name was. But he was the Hindu holy man. He had taken a vow of silence, and like anytime you want a conversation with him, he's always writing on a chalkboard his answers. And like multiple people in the school had taken vows of silence, including the bus driver. So he could never yell at us. But they say that every time you speak, you lose part of your spirit. So that's why they took a vow of silence. It's very interesting. It's actually one of the reasons why I'm talking now, but I usually don't talk a lot, especially like in a group setting. I'm usually the quiet one. But I do remember this was before my whole experience in summer camp. I had asked Babaji, what was I in my past life? His response was a grasshopper.
How though did you get, what happened for your parents to go, okay, we're changing schools and here's where you're going to go?
Well, by this point, it was just me and my mom. So why did I get taken out of public school? I think actually she was trying to get me into the traveling school, which is a school that, travels around the world. But I didn't want to do it as a kid. So instead, she put me into this Hindu private school for a little while because it was like well known in the area. And I got to participate in several versions of the Ramayana because they put it on every year with the school kids playing all the parts. And so the Ramayana, for people who don't know, is the story of Rama and Sita versus the demon king Ravana. And like that was a crazy experience because Ravana is like this 10-headed demon. So whoever played Ravana had to be a pretty strong kid because they had like 9 other heads attached on either side. And it was, it's totally part of Hindu mythology and culture. So I got to learn a lot about different Hindu gods and yoga. And one of our PE classes was doing staff work so that we were proficient enough to do it on stage for the Ramayana. So
Wow.
Yeah.
So obviously you're at a school where you've got people there who took vows of silence as teachers, as bus drivers. What other ways does it differ to like your normal school when you went there? And hey, Hammy Pie.
The biggest thing that was a difference for me and a couple other kids was most of the kids lived there. Like it was a commune. So like there was all these families that had houses around the area and their kids were basically living there. So there was the ones who lived there, and then there was us that they all called the townies. So we always were the ones getting picked up on the bus and driven up the hill. And so there was definitely a split there because the kids that lived there, a lot of them had been given Hindu names and like were being raised to be a part of this commune. And the townies were kind of like seen as outsiders in a way. Okay. So after a while, after a couple of years, my mom was like, okay, we're taking you back out of there. Part of it too was because when I got into 7th grade, like 6th grade was okay. When I got into 7th grade, it was like 7th through 12th grade all mixed together, taught at 12th grade level. And so me being like in 7th grade, I'm doing my best, but like, I don't know. I just remember the chemistry teacher pulling my mom aside and saying, well, obviously he needs to go to a special school because he's mentally retarded. I'm just like, what? No, I'm in 7th grade trying to do 12th grade chemistry. Of course I'm not exactly doing my best. So, and plus my mom felt a little bit like a hypocrite because she was a 5th grade school teacher at the time. So she was teaching public school and her son was in private school. So she decided that just didn't vibe well. So she pulled me out. And then 8th grade, that was horrible because all these kids, 8th grade was like their last year together. They'd been together since kindergarten, so they all had their cliques already figured out. And here I come from like the Mount Madonna school, like the commune school, and suddenly it's like, well, where do I fit in? And so that was, yeah, junior high and high school, it was a little difficult for me because I just didn't really fit in. And then that summer after 8th grade is when I went to summer school or summer camp for the first time. Yeah.
So Sean has said, what years are you referring to? Because I'm guessing that maybe because it's all different depending on where you live in the world. So
right. So junior high, well, so in America, it's like kindergarten through 6th grade is like elementary.
Yeah.
7th and 8th is usually junior high. Some junior highs do 7th, 8th, 9th. But the high school I went to started 9th through 12th. And then you graduate and then you go to college.
Yeah. Okay.
And 6th grade I actually did twice because part of my childhood was spent in Costa Rica. And so the first half of 6th grade happened, then we lived in Costa Rica for a year, and then I did the second half of 6th grade. So I kind of did it 2 years of 6th grade, even though it was broken up by a year in Costa Rica.
Okay. So you have like this experience through your early primary school years where you've got a very open mom who gets in trouble because she brings shamans into the school and you get to partake in that. Then you go off to this completely different kind of school altogether.
Very different.
How did you process that at that age, like the good versus the bad aspects of it?
Well, I think 6th grade I was okay because my teacher was very like nurturing.
Yeah.
Took care of me. But then once I got into 7th grade, it was like a mishmash of teachers, and I was going from class to class, and I was definitely feeling a little lost at that point. And being a townie, I felt like an outsider. So a lot of my life, I felt like an outsider.
Mm-hmm. What about the elements to that school? Like you said, you still learnt yoga and all of that. You've got these teachers taking vows of silence. You partook in, different aspects of like the Hindu. But based on where you kind of came from and what you'd already experienced, like with the shaman, with an open mom and all that sort of stuff, story about your birth even, were there aspects of that had a nice overlap, or it totally confused that whole spiritual?
Well, I think there was a good overlap because of that, but it was this whole concept of them like being an enclosed community, and I was an outsider coming in every day for school and then leaving again. Whereas the kids that lived there, it's like a lot of times when my mom came to pick me up, if she came to pick me up when I was doing the bus, we'd stay there because they'd always had dinner, like a vegetarian dinner for everybody that lived there.
Yeah.
And like those kids, they not only were going to school together, they were living together. So there was like a very tight community there. And then also, I mean, the number of students per class were a little off. So like some years there was only like 3 kids graduating because that was how many 12th graders there were. And that's one of the reasons why 7th through 12th grade is all intermingled.
Yeah.
Because there wasn't that many of each class.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was just easier to like mix them all together and teach at a certain level.
Yeah. And Sean also clarified, no, what he meant was it like 60s, 70s, 80s?
Late 80s.
Okay. Yeah. So hopefully we finally answered the question for you, Sean.
Sorry, Sean. My phone keeps turning itself off, so I can't even see the chat.
And so obviously when we talked last time, some of the, those moments that you spoke of about that shaman that came to your primary school, and then when you did your summer camp, that experience. Mm-hmm. So in this time of being at the Hindu school over these 2 years, were there particular things that to this day still stand out, like more on that spiritual side, as something you really took on board and loved, or not?
Oh, for sure.
Okay, so what are some of
Yeah.
those?
There were certain aspects of it that like definitely sculpted me in a way, especially because that was when I got my like introduction to Ganesh and Kali and like all the Hindu gods. And that has always been kind of an interest for me because that religious side of things was like, I always wanted to talk to the guru about all that kind of stuff. And, you know, his answers were on a chalkboard, but he was always willing to talk to me even though I was 11, 12, something like that. So, I mean, it definitely influenced me and is still a part of my life. I mean, I got Ganesha statues everywhere. Like, yeah.
Oh, beautiful.
So, I mean, I wouldn't say that. And I mean, as a kid, I used to get these Hindu comic books. They were translated into English, of course, but there was the story of Ganesh. There was I don't even know how big of a pile I had at one point, but like each little comic was one of the myths of the Hindu mythology. So it's like I got it in visual form as well as just being like taught it by a guru. I also was reading it in comic book form. So,
Did you start finding the comics and reading them because of Hindu school, or you did that before anyway?
I mean, we kind of already knew about that community because one of the witchy stores in town was run by them.
Yeah.
So there was like, they had a little witchy section, but there was like a huge section for yoga and yoga stuff and Hinduism. Like there was a huge section on Hinduism. And then of course, you know, I got the section of yoga clothes. And so it's not like I hadn't been exposed to it already because that store was around the corner from the house I was growing up in. And we used to go there on a regular basis just to like check things out. And my mom wanted to get some more yoga tools. And
okay, yeah, that's going to be my next question. Like, did your mom go there often? Did you ever go and say, "Oh, I want that," just because it looked, even if you didn't know what it was? Like,
that's where I got a lot of the comics. So
yeah, okay,
yeah.
Wow. Even with that though, like, and I get that they probably accommodated that because you said that was within sort of that area, that community was living there.
Mm-hmm.
But that is something that the rest of us, well, I don't know, I'm sure I can speak for more than just me, are not exposed to. Like, like I went into many different, I guess, the new age type shops growing up because I had an aunt who loved that. But it was all the stock standard stuff that you would find these days in that type of shop. Like,
right.
Yeah. Wow.
Well, part of it was where I was growing up too, because I spent a lot of my childhood in Costa Rica, but the main place where I grew up was Santa Cruz, California, which is like total hippie town, surfer town. I mean, yoga town. So, I mean, there's a yoga studio in every corner of Santa Cruz, or at least there used to be.
Yeah. Wow, that's it blows my mind. And I know when I went back and I looked at the comments people made last time just to see if there was any questions that we missed. I can't remember who it is, so I'm sorry, but I know someone in there commented, it's like you have lived multiple lifetimes in this one life, just with the experiences that you have had already. And you're only like halfway through life.
Right. And next month I'll be 45.
Yeah. So, oh, wow. Okay. So is there anything else about Hindu school that stands out or stories that you want to share? Ginger Face said,
not that I can think of. I mean, I was there for like 2.5 years and then that 7th grade, which 7th grade just
Yeah.
Just because it was like, I was a townie, B, I was in 7th grade trying to do 12th grade level stuff and being told by my teachers that I was mentally retarded.
Mhm.
So, I mean, it was a lot to process as a kid. And, you take it on a little bit like, wow, maybe I really do have something wrong with me. Or,
Yeah. Yeah.
so,
And so you said year 8 was just that almost typical horrible year 8.
right. Well, it was worse for me because everyone had known each other since preschool, all gone through school together. And then here I come, like, as if I didn't already feel like an outsider at Mount Madonna. Now at Bransford Junior High, I was like the definite outsider. So,
Yeah.
And then the bully that bullied me the most in 8th grade, like when I went to high school, my first day there, I saw him. So I was like, oh, but in high school, it was way different. Although in 9th grade, for some reason, I made friends with all the seniors about to graduate, which was a mistake because then all my friends left. And then I was like, well, who am I supposed to be friends with now? But then, I got into choir, and that high school was really cool in a lot of ways because it let me do stuff that I wouldn't have been able to do at any other high school. So especially my senior year, instead of regular English class, first semester I took a poetry class, and then the second semester I took like a science fiction fantasy writing class instead. And then instead of taking high school PE, they let me go to the junior college nearby. So the first semester I did modern movement. It's like, modern dance. Yeah. And then my second semester I did yoga. So.
Wow. Susie has a question. She said, Jonathan, do you believe Hindu stories relate to ancient aliens? Humbly asking.
There's certain aspects that definitely make me think that, especially with like all the gods having multiple arms or multiple heads, and then their vehicles. Like if you see the paintings, they're always like this spherical, they look like wheels with like little bits of fire all the way around. Mm-hmm. So I can see that correlation for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So even though we talked about summer camp being in the high school years last time, but you said there were other things that this high school gave you. So obviously in year 12, you got to do these incredible, again, I become speechless because I cannot imagine schools and universities like having these subjects. Like,
I'm just glad I went through school when I did, because I don't think I would have those exact same experiences now. Especially with the way schools have become like very regimented with the Common Core, and like everyone in the same grade has to be on the same page of the same book and the same paragraph. So if you have to transfer schools, you're not lost.
Yeah.
Whereas when I was going through school, teachers still had leeway to make the class what they wanted to. And I don't know. I mean, I got into like AP English even in like at the beginning of high school, so like advanced placement. So I got to do like the advanced stuff, and in 9th grade read The Tale of Two Cities, and like so part of it too was when I was going through high school, a lot of those summers were when I was in summer camp. So I think it was the year before my freshman year 9, that I went the first time, and then the second year between year 9 year 10 was when I went through the whole New Age class in summer school. And I mean, some incidences in high school where Bible thumpers brought Bible to try and tell me how wrong I was for living the way. I mean, this one girl, I was telling her about this fantasy novel I was reading, and the next day she brings her Bible to school to tell me how magic is the devil's work. And it just was like, okay. So because of that, because I'd already been exposed to the New Age stuff, I had actually gone to a bookstore and bought a book on witchcraft, and so the next day I brought that and just sitting there reading it just to like rub it in her face. It was just like, it's your belief. You can live by your belief, but don't shove it at me, because that's always rubbed me the wrong way. If someone's trying to force me to live the way they want to live, it's like, no, I don't care what religion you are. Don't try and force your beliefs on me. I'm being willing to learn, but don't try and tell me that, well, the way I'm living is wrong.
And I know like people are commenting saying, you know, there's next to nothing now in our schools, and, you know, they wish that like their schools had have this kind of cool stuff, but it almost seems backwards to me, because the further back we go, the more that stock standard, you know, religion domination, like they were pushed more in the past. It's like we've become more open in certain ways and speaking out more now about branching out. So it's even more of an odd concept to me that when you went to school, this was like you would expect this would be happening today, given all the push to be more open, but
right.
It's gotten worse.
It's gotten more closed.
Yeah. I still can't imagine it being open back then. Like when we think of those times, normally you hear stories about how much worse school was back then.
Right.
Like, I don't think I've ever heard anyone talk about having any of these class experiences that you've had, especially like in the past.
Well, I graduated high school in 1994. So early 90s, I think, was way more open than it is now. The early 90s, like the gay pride thing was like getting steam. Like people were interested in witchcraft and Wicca suddenly. And so a lot of that stuff, I think, was opening, blossoming. And almost like I went through what I went through during the golden years of those systems. And now there's like definitely been a bit more of a blowback, I think, especially with, you know, teachers no longer being able to control what they do in their own classroom.
Yeah.
So, and then, you know, of course, like I said, where I grew up was very hippie.
Yeah, and that's what I'm thinking, that there's obviously a huge part of it, even based on people's comments and everything. There's obviously a huge part to this that is about the area you grew up in. Because, like, my hubby graduated high school in 95, I think. I graduated in 2000. Granted, I went to a Catholic school, but he didn't. Like, he went to quite a wild, like, public school. But there's definitely, like, none of that coming into any of it. So I'm assuming that you have just been, it was almost like you were meant to enter this world at the places that you did, be in the places, and have these experiences that so many of the rest of us, even like based on the people in here chatting, are just mind blown by. And Sean's commented, your boy is blessed to have you as a father with your background. And God, absolutely. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Well, and as I told someone in the comments of the first video, it's like I wasn't aware of this like blessed life until I saw it through other people's eyes. For me, it's my life, and I don't know anything else. So,
yeah.
But I mean, in a way, even these videos are showing up right when I need them too.
Yeah, and like people in the comment, please let me know, has anyone else watching this now, or if you're watching it back later, heard of these types of schools, this type of like experience being in schools, unis? Because I would love to know if it does exist like anywhere else and people have the experience of it. Yeah, it is, and it is fascinating. And yes, I understand to you, it's just your life, it's what you grew up in, but it's so far removed from, I think, the norm of what the majority of us grow up with. And that's, you know, no matter what country we're kind of coming from, it seems. So,
Well, I know there's definitely certain classes that stand out in my mind that I'm like, I know I'm lucky to have taken it because I've never heard of anyone else taking it. Like another one that I took when I was in college on top of the Japanese tea ceremony, I took a class specifically on the Mayan hieroglyphics. So it was a whole semester of learning the hieroglyphics, what each one meant, how to like draw your own if you were going to do it, like the dates of the Mayan calendar. And so like one of the things we had to do was we took these photocopies of the images of the hieroglyphics from actual ruins, and we cut them up and put them into sentence form that we would be able to read. So, and then after that, for a long time, like for people's birthdays and stuff, I would draw their name in Mayan hieroglyphics.
wow. And did you get graded on this? Like, how did
Oh yeah, yeah. So they graded you on how well you translated, how well you were able to like set up the hieroglyphics into sentence form, and then also the history of the Mayans. So
Wow, that's
I got an A.
my goodness. Yeah, I mean, like, because it's obviously natural to take courses in all different languages now and things like that. And if you're doing Japanese or Chinese, learning the kanji, but those are still things that are relevant today, I guess. So
Right.
yeah, to do one on hieroglyphics. And Mendy said, hang on, I've lost it now. I can't say they have a specific Hindu study, but they do have world religions and classes like that. Okay.
Mhm.
I'd love to know more about that, Mendy. Like, is this an online thing? Is there a specific place you go? So, yeah, maybe you could do a VR to it, Mendy. Okay.
I see, yeah, Betsy went to some interesting and very unusual schools in the 70s.
Oh, okay. So you've had experiences with this kind of what the rest of us are mind blown about then, Betsy. Homeschools were called free schools and students directed their own pace of learning. Yeah, even our homeschools now, like in distance learning, there's a lot of freedom. There's not a lot of pressure, but there's certainly nothing like out of the ordinary.
Right.
Yeah. So, and Mandy says, I went to a very conservative Christian high school, so nothing but learning there, but in college took some interesting classes. Yeah, see, I don't know if I was no, I'm pretty sure I wasn't completely blind because I would look at all those like extra subjects you took just as the electives.
Right.
And there's definitely nothing exciting like other like you've talked about or like anything like that. Yeah.
Well, the alchemy class actually took the place of my chemistry class. I was able to take alchemy instead of chemistry, and it was taught by a chemistry teacher. So
Wow. So even these staff members you were engaged with at your college obviously were a lot more open-minded than what we have
I
today.
went to Humboldt State University, so it's known for very open-minded everything.
Wow. And you said you took philosophy of parapsychology, basically all about paranormal events. My God, even doing a psychology course, counseling psychology, the actual art of sitting down talking to someone for us was not even a compulsory subject. It was an elective.
Right.
Like that was as good as our kind of electives got. My goodness. Wow. So, Mandy, I think if you either need to do a video to this or you need to come on and chat to me too about these experiences because I know even now you're in a religion that is very open. So, hint, hint, Mandy. Okay, so something else you told me was that when you were at uni, you got invited to participate. And I'm going to let you go on with the rest so I don't mess up the pronunciations of what you told me.
So back in God, what was it? I think it was it's either 99 or 2000. I was invited by a boyfriend at the time to come and participate in the Naraya. And the Naraya had several spots where they were doing it. I did it in Wolf Creek, Oregon. And the Naraya is...
What is the Naraya, for those of us who don't know?
So the Naraya is the Shoshone people's version of the ghost dance. And the ghost dance is actually the only religious ceremony that is illegal in the United States. The ghost dance is what caused the Battle of Wounded Knee. And it's a 3-day ceremony. It's one of those things that's hard to put into words. So I guess I'll have to paint with my words. When you go there, there's a sacred circle. In the center of the sacred circle is the tree that represents the tree of life. And people bring things that represent ancestors or people who have passed on. And so the tree is decorated kind of like a Christmas tree, but it's like pictures of dead relatives or like little trinkets that belong to them. And then next to the tree is a sacred fire that's kept burning the whole time. And every evening at sunset, we all come in. We have to get cleansed before we enter the circle. And then there's the shamans in the center, and the dancers are on the outside. And we're all wearing white.
Sorry,
and then,
like what? Where were you living at the time? Like, where did you go to actually do this?
I was still in Humboldt State, so I was in Arcata, California. So it was like a 5-hour drive into Oregon. Okay. And it took place at Wolf Creek, Oregon, which is like the headquarters of the Radical Fairies. And the shamans who were there, all Native American, and we were taught specific holy songs to sing, and then we were supposed to do a specific kind of shuffle dance is what it's called. And during the dance, people get taken by spirit, which is kind of referred to as the flop and drop and flop. So it was a very powerful experience for me. I was taken by spirit many times and had visions every single time. One of the most profound visions I had was the second night. See, these 3 days bleed together into it feels like a year, just because it was so profound. And yeah, I think it was the second night. I was taken by spirit, and everyone who's taken by spirit gets like dragged into the center so that the dancers can continue with their dance. And I just remember like feeling like I was about to leave my body and then like falling backwards, but at the same time falling upwards. And then I was a raven circling over the tree, and I slowly circled higher and higher. And I realized that the circle we were in was in the circle of the Earth, which was in the circle of the solar system, in the circle of the galaxy, in the circle of the universe. And all those circles were the rings of a giant tree. And then I nestled in the branches and like had a profound experience with looking down into the roots and Crononus looking up and like information getting downloaded basically. And just that vision of all those circles being the tree of life itself was beyond words. I mean, I could talk about it for hours and still not quite explain what it was like. So
yeah, wow. So that sounds like a very, I guess, ritualistic thing that, and this is just my not knowing, you know, about many, many things and cultural appropriation and on lots of different levels. How was it like that you, I mean, I know you were invited like by your boyfriend at the time, but how was it that you got invited to something like that in the first place? Or was it something that was more open to other people?
No, actually, you had to be invited in order to even go to it.
Right.
And you had to be invited by someone who had already been. So,
Okay.
yeah. My
Yeah.
boyfriend at the time had been several times, and his boyfriend before me had been the bundle keeper, but had been hit by a car in San Francisco. So, yeah. And like I said, that experience was just beyond words. I mean, 3 days felt like a year at least. And then after the experience, first probably a week after, it's like I could see auras, I could see people glowing, and like everything was just so beautiful, like beyond words beautiful. And like even the most like mundane thing had like a sparkle of magic to it.
Wow. Like, what's that? I know by the time you were this age, because this was when you were in university, you'd
Mhm.
already had many experiences, but that's almost next level in and of itself.
Right.
Was there any part of you frightened during this? I'm going to fall, but I'm falling backwards. But I'm like,
It was intense, but I never felt scared because the shamans were there. And there was a time on the third day where it's like we weren't even dancing, we were just having circle and talking. And like I went, and like no one could revive me. They had to get the shaman to help like bring me back. And it was because I had it's it's another one of those things that's hard to put into words. I was simultaneously the sun, the moon, the world tree, the raven, and everything. Like, and like I remember vividly sitting in the silver throne of the moon while I was sitting in the golden throne of the sun, while I was Cernunnos himself sitting in the roots of the world tree, and I was the ravens looking down at the same time. Like, it was like I was in so many places at once that I wasn't in my body at all. And they had to come over with the sacred smoke and like do all kinds of stuff to get me back into my body. And like I've never been the same since. So
was it even scary when you found out they had to go to this length to get you back into your body?
no, because I was too exhausted. Because I had gone on this like intense spiritual journey where like I was basically these multiple gods at the same time, and then finally came back to myself, but like at the same time still out there. And it's hard to put into words. It's a
Yeah.
spiritual experience that like, yeah, it's hard to put into words.
I'm just going to read a couple of the comments. So Susie says Hermosa. I don't know what that means. Does that mean anything to you, Jonathan?
What was it?
Hermosa?
Hermosa.
Yes, so you saying I really lived a basic ass life with a basic ass education, maybe next lifetime. I think we're all like listening to Jonathan's life experience thinking, whoa, yeah, I've gone through nothing. Hermosal. I'm sorry, Ginger, I don't know what that means.
Hermosa, like pretty. Spanish word for pretty is all I can think of.
And Name says, listening to Jonathan, I'm yawning at my entire life. Boo boo, I want to do over.
Oh, neat.
Sean asks, what faith do you connect with now?
I don't really label myself. I would say I'm not religious, I'm more spiritual. And I've always been one to like explore the different religious paths, but just to find that kernel of truth to take into my own system. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Ginger says it's almost like your soul didn't want to come back. Yeah, like you just got to have all this in this lifetime.
It was intense. Just talking about it gives me goosebumps.
Oh, sorry. Ginger was having a conversation with Susie about Hermosa Beach. Okay, that's why I didn't understand. Sorry, Ginger. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Have you written? I mean, obviously, as you said, you can't even put into words like that particular experience, and I'm sure it's been like that with a few of the experiences you've had, even if it's not to that level. But have you written this down somewhere so that as your son gets older, he's got like
I should.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I know you're having
so busy experiencing, I haven't had time to sit down and write it out.
Yeah. So I mean, you can obviously save the recordings and that kind of thing, but if anything ever happens to them
right, transcribe.
Yeah. You hear people now talk about they find out after a grandparent has passed that they were into just like tarot or certain divination, and people are all like, well, why the bloody hell did no one tell me this when they were alive? And your experiences go well above, just having someone who read the tarot or was into some kind of divination. So yeah, you could. Yeah, and Cindy said you need to write a book. Absolutely. Like, yeah, let's be selfish here. Let's not just make it all about Apollo and about ourselves. And we want to read the book too.
Yeah, I should.
Absolutely.
I'm so busy right now, though. I'm enrolled in a health coach program, and I'm trying to also catch up with Bethany's tarot summer school at the same time, and
eventually start your own online business, doing all these things.
And I'm creating my own system of witches too. So
yeah, and that's super. I'll definitely have you back on when you've done that if you want, and you can share with everyone too, because that would be cool. Yeah.
To do a live when I finally finish that. Well, part of it is like I kind of have figured out what the symbols are. I just need to sit down and write out like meanings for the symbols and how to use the runes, because instead of a typical set of runes, what I'm doing is two-sided. So one side is white and the other side is black, and then they're going to be like paired runes on each disc, and that way when you're pulling, it's basically meant for pulling runes or also casting runes, so you can see, okay, not only are you looking at the symbols, you're looking at, okay, is there more white, is there more black, and doing the yin and yang kind of thing. And I'm doing, I should just show you the list of symbols I got.
Yeah, I do think I will ask, but I think it's Jonathan's intention that once it's sorted that he will be selling them, Cindy. Cindy's asking, you're going to sell the runes, and I said, I'm pretty sure it is your intention once, because this is
once I get it all ironed out and everything. So
this is your own system together, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
I got these little tokens. I haven't started putting the runes on yet. So I got this white side, blue on the side, and then black side. And then I'm going to be, let's see. So I got like the earth elemental symbol, but also like the coin symbol, the air symbol, and swords, water and cups. I'm also doing sun and moon, sunrise, sunset, the goddess and the god, candle and cauldron. So you got a whole system going on. So it's going to be 13 discs, but 26 runes.
We are super lucky here because I think that's the most you've shown of your rune system so far. To give us a sneak peek.
Yeah, well, I need to. It's because I'm debating. I'm debating on how I want to put them on here. Right now, I was thinking silver on the black and then gold on the white. I don't know how well the gold would show up on the white, so I'm like, do I do that or should I do like red on the black and like green on the white, or I don't know. And just a process.
You can just make a
Someone
demo.
said I should try both ways. So
Yeah, and I'll buy the demo set, and I'll let you know which color's great. I'll pay
yeah, well,
the
I have 2 sets going, and I was gonna do one with the silver and gold, and one with the. And I'm debating between red and green or red and blue. So.
Wow. Okay. Everyone's going to be like, we already started hounding you last week about setting up so we can all get past life regression readings from you. Now everyone's going to be hounding
it's a work in progress. I have my page set up on Facebook already. So Jonathan's Tarot, just like the way it's written right here. Right.
Oh, okay. I will link that once this finishes and uploads, which God knows how long that will. Oh, I can still go back into mine through StreamYard and do it. So yeah. Okay, cool. I'm really bad on Facebook, so even though I'm a Facebook like friend with you, I'm not on there very often to actually see what's going on. But I'll be I'll be watching that. Okay, so one of the other, I sort of skipped ahead and now we're kind of going back a little bit. You also said that you did spent time as an exchange student in Thailand. So tell us about that and your experiences. And
well, I think that really helped open me up to the fact that there's other cultures with way different beliefs. It was an amazing experience because I was 16 at the time. It was, instead of going to summer camp, I did exchange student for over the summer. And the funny thing is we did like a week of preliminary like orientation. There was a trying to teach us Thai, but it's funny because the guy who was teaching us Thai was from Australia, so he's speaking Thai with a thick Australian accent. And Thai is one of those ones where it's like pronunciation is very exact. So like ma 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 ma, like I'm probably mangling it, but ma with different tones can be mother, horse, firewood, or so they go ma 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 ma, and be like my mom went on horseback to go get some firewood or something. And so Thai is really hard. Like I thought Chinese was bad, but it was definitely interesting, very interesting experience because it was only there for the summer, but I got to.
How long's the summer? Like for summer camp?
I stayed with a host family, so like I got to live like the Thai do, and they took me to temples where like I was the only white guy there, and there were these huge Buddhas, like I don't even know, like 50 feet tall kind of Buddhas. And then you buy your 2 little sheets of gold and rub them onto the Buddha as your prayers. And so some of these Buddhas, like the bottom half was just all gold, and then the top was stone. 2 of them had like, someone had obviously climbed the Buddha to like get their gold up higher. And it was just very opening. Like it really opened me to this whole other world. And it wasn't long after that, like I think I was 19 when I took my non-Western philosophy class, and it was because I had had that introduction by going to Thailand and like realizing there's a whole half of the world that in the West we never really talk about. So it was a growing experience, to say the least. And that's actually where I got my all-seeing eye pendant. My first Athema was from Thailand. I still have it. And it was an amazing experience for sure. Yeah.
Absolutely. And When you say you were the only, like when they were taking you to the temples, you were the only white person there, was that culturally okay?
Well, the interesting thing is, it seems like no matter where I go, I blend in. When I was in Ireland, everyone thought I was Irish until I opened my mouth. When I went to China, like when I was with the group, all the Chinese would stare at us. When I was by myself, no one even looked at me. Like I blended in that well. And so I think even in Thailand, they just assumed I was one of the kids. Because, like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you have any spiritual experiences while, you know, paranormal type, interaction, contact by spirit when you were on this exchange, you know, learning
There
about all
was,
that stuff?
it was whenever we went to one of the Buddha temples, like that I could just feel the difference in energy there versus outside. And one of the most profound experiences was before we got like set with our families, we saw that week, and they took us to a few places. One of which was like the Royal Thai Palace, I think it was. God, I can't remember now, but it's where I have the Jade Buddha, and it's the Jade Buddha. It's like pretty big, and it's carved out of a single piece of jade, and it's like the most holy relic in Thailand. And like, I mean, they have different outfits for different seasons for it, and like it's this big profound thing. Like you're not even allowed to take a picture of it while you're in there. And like you had to walk through this whole palace to even get to it. But when we were in that room, I just like, I don't know, it felt like the Buddha was like sending me non-verbal messages. Like I felt like I was getting downloads when I was in there. And when we finally left, like I was just in like this very peaceful spiritual space, and everyone else is just like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'm fine." I just was like, I don't know, I kind of entered into like this Buddha headspace by being with it, and I'm just like communing with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. So how long did you spend there in total, like weeks wise?
God, how long was I there? I was there for 2 months.
Oh, wow.
So,
Okay.
or maybe, was it? God, I can't remember. I think it was 8 weeks. So 1 week at the beginning and 1 week at the end. So 6 weeks with the family, a week before and a week at the end. And they did the week at the end for the summer kids because it was either a summer, a 6-month, or a year-long program. And so we just did the summer program. And actually, it was through AFS. And the reason I went to Thailand is because I had check marked, I'll go anywhere. So I had no idea where I was going to end up. And I ended up going to Thailand. So, and funny enough, the guy that was trying to teach us Thai at the beginning, he was a great guy, but like, okay, imagine all these like 16-year-olds, 15, 16-year-olds from all around the world, like put on a bus together and taken to the world's biggest drag show. So it was like, what am I watching here?
Wow.
That was my first experience with drag when I was 16. Went to Thailand. I went to one of those Thai shows, the biggest one in Thailand, actually.
Gosh. Wow. Another thing you just go, I cannot comprehend that happening.
Oh, I would like at the time it was like, what is going on? Especially like for the straight boys, they were just like, what am I watching? Because like, a lot of those girls had the full surgery, so they were basically all intents purposes female. So
yeah.
And so the straight boys were a little like, what am I watching and why am I turned on?
Oh, wow. Through doing something like that, like, obviously your mum did most of the raising with you, like, and even though a lot of kids at that 16-year mark, it's like, "Shit, I just wanna get away from my parents." And even though I had moments like that, the idea to me at that age of going to a totally different country that doesn't even speak my language, being away from, like, my mum for that period of time would have just horrified me. Like, was there any part of that with you, but particularly because it was, like, mostly just you and your mum for such a long time?
I was very comfortable actually going because I knew it was only a summer. I think it might have been different if it had been like for 6 months or a year. But
Yeah,
only being a summer, it was just, I'm just going away for the summer. It's going to be fun. It's an adventure. Uh,
yeah.
and it was definitely an adventure because at the time, like I was only 16. I was the tallest kid at the school that I was put in, and I had to get a uniform because in Thailand all the schools are uniformed, and
Okay.
we went to 5 different shops to find a belt that would fit me. And the kid at the school that I went to, who was like considered the tall one, like abnormally tall, like came up to here on me,
Yeah.
and so. And it was a little weird because, whenever a teacher walked by, you're supposed to stop whatever you're doing and bow your head lower than theirs. And I just was like, I don't know if I can bend any lower. So,
Oh, wow. No, no, no. I think it was Ginger Pay. Yeah, I said Jonathan the Chameleon, just at the way you kind of fit in everywhere you've gone. And yeah, wow. So
yeah,
true. Let's see if I've missed. Hello, Jackie. If you didn't hear me, say hello when you come in. Um,
Jackie Jacaranda.
I'm
We actually
trying
have jacaranda trees here in Maui. I love when they're in bloom.
yeah, we have heaps here around where I am. We have a whole Jacaranda festival. Obviously not.
Not in winter.
All right. So, anything else you've thought of that we didn't kind of touch base with prior to this?
Well, there was one, you asked me to get out a couple things for show and tell, and I spotted something that I was like, why didn't I remember that? My mom went to Cuba a few times for like yoga retreats. And while there, she found a voodoo medicine man or a voodoo doctor or something.
Mhm.
And so she insisted on getting this sword for me. It represents the 4 elements. The guy did not want to sell it to her. She's like, no, 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 he's not for him. But she insisted. And yeah, so
Oh, wow.
it's the 4 elements. So the blade is a fish bone for water. Then you get horns for fire. This is marble for earth. And then wood at the bottom for air.
Oh, that's stunning. So, how old were you when your mum bought that for you?
I was in my early 20s. Yeah,
Okay.
I was at Humble, I think, at the time. So it's interesting too because it did. I don't know if you can even see that, but like the handle broke. Like I think the energy just kind of exploded out of it. But I was able to fix it, glue it back into place, and so it's still potent. Like holding it, I'm like, whoa.
Wow. How special. Gosh. And Iridescent, say hello. I haven't said hello to you. It says you have a huge Buddha statue in, I don't know how to pronounce that, Maui.
Oh yeah, there's let's see if I can see it. Lahaina, yes. I don't go out to Lahaina much because, like, when you're on island, it's interesting because people get stuck in the little spot on the island. Like when we lived up country, everyone we're in South Maui now. Lahaina's West Maui, and then there's upcountry. And if you live in Hana, we never see you in Hana. That's East Maui, basically. And people get stuck in their little spots. Like people who live in South Maui don't really go anywhere else. The only place people go is town, what we call town, which is Kahului. And then, like when we lived up country, all our friends in Kihei, like we never heard from them.
Wow.
And then people who live in Lahaina never really leave Lahaina.
Is there a reason for that? Is it just like because you love where you end up that you don't want to go anywhere?
I don't know. There's something weird. But once you are on island, people don't want to drive places unless it's a good time when to drive.
Okay. Yeah. So just part of that. Like,
the drive to Lahaina is gorgeous. It's all along the ocean. So it's like you got the ocean right there and then beaches right there. So I don't know why people don't do it more. I mean, we haven't done it. I can't remember the last time I drove out to Lahaina.
Yeah. And that traveling and that time thing is so dependent on where you live. I know back when I think I was 17. Well, he was obviously not my husband at the time, but my ex-husband. I went to New Zealand with him where he had family, and the idea of traveling any further than 10, 15 minutes to go somewhere is horrible. Like no one wanted to work unless it was only 10, 15 minutes away. If they said just around the corner, it literally meant around the next corner. So if we say it's only around the corner, that might be like a 20-minute drive or something.
Right.
Yeah, and it's sort of nothing for us to drive 45 minutes to an hour and a half. Like that's just a normal kind of a drive, not even a long one.
Well, even when we like popped over the mainland for 14 months, it was like we were living in the Seattle area, Gig Harbor, and like to go anywhere was like 30 to 45 minutes at least. And like it seemed like no big deal. But now here it's like 30 to 45 minutes, that take forever. Yeah. Another thing that's out there in West Maui, there's a huge labyrinth in Kaanapali. So I want to go there. I haven't been to that one. I've been to there's a place called Sacred Gardens in Haiku, and they have a large labyrinth. How many turns does that one have? It's like the really big one. And then they have this smaller, more medieval style labyrinth on the inside of their little greenhouse. That's a great spot. I mean, they have all kinds of cool new agey classes there, or at least they used to. Nothing's new anymore. Everything's online, you know.
Gosh. Okay, so Betsy's saying one lane in out of everywhere. You get tired of being stuck for hours away from home.
Well, right, because driving to Lahaina, like if you hit it at the wrong time, that hour-long drive turns to like a 3-hour-long drive.
Okay.
Because it's only one lane each direction, and if there's a car accident or just a Saturday traffic, it's like backed up for miles.
Okay. Yep. Oh, hey, Kay. Welcome. All right. So one thing I did ask Jonathan to bring was his growing collection, or at least a few, you didn't have to bring more, of beautiful skulls that you have. And one of the things I wanted to know, and I do recall, I think I may have seen it, like I said, I'm not great with Facebook. I may have seen it flipping through Facebook quickly, the one you showed before we went live, and you had named it. And what I wanted to know is, do all your skulls have names?
They do.
Cool.
I don't remember all of them. But this is Craig. I love that titanium. And then you can see like the natural crystal druzy in there. So someone I know who knows a lot about crystals said it's smoky quartz with, I don't know if you can see that little bit of black there, tourmaline.
Wow.
So, but then the top has been treated with a layer of titanium.
He is just stunning. He is so cool.
Actually, the biggest skull I got. The second biggest one. Why am I blanking on the name? Probably because I'm under pressure. This one is a smoky quartz in citrine.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Name says, I call his new skull Spike, even though you named it Craig.
I almost called him Spike, but then called him Rocky, and then Craig popped in my head.
Yeah.
This is agate. I call this one Aggie.
Nice. Oh, I love the different coloration, like with the white on the bottom.
That
Wow.
face is just so amazing. Love that one. Here's one of my newer ones. It's Petersite.
Oh, that's stunning. Wow.
Of course, because it's Petersite, I named this one Peter. And I love that clear spot in the back there.
It's gorgeous.
This one, oh god, blanking on this one's name too, but this is African bloodstone. With
Ooh, love the bits of red that
the little bits of red in there. And then I don't know if you can see right there on the temple, a little bit of pyrite.
Oh, cool.
Like little sparks of pyrite here and there. Yeah.
Wow.
I love the little bits of red everywhere though.
And do you remember that one's name?
Oh god. Now I know why Simon named all of his Boris.
Yes, Cindy, I do have a Mookite skull, but mine's a little bit of bitty baby Mookite skull.
You have a couple of babies. One's red jasper, one is sodalite, and one is rose quartz.
Mm-hmm.
The rose quartz is Rosie, the sodalite is Susie, the red jasper is Hank.
Nice. Oh, baby. So what got, because I know once you sort of got that first skull, your passion and your collection grew pretty quickly. What made you kind of start really, really liking the skulls? And do you do any kind of special work with the skulls?
Well, really the thing that got me hooked on skull, well, I mean, once you have one, they talk to you. I don't know how else to describe it, but they definitely call to me in a big way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're addicted. Yeah.
But the thing that really started me was backing Jesse's Crystal Skull Tarot.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I'm worried about receiving my copy of that I'm going to want to go out and buy more skulls. I'm really concerned that deck is going to enable me.
That's what got me started. I don't even have the deck yet. So
yeah.
Speaking of decks and Kickstarter, one of the first ones I backed was, I don't know if you've seen this one.
A long time ago, I think I've seen two other people talk about it, but is that like have you recently got that? Is that a second edition or something? Or
No, this was one of the first backers.
Okay.
But
have you had it for a while?
Oh yeah, I've had it for a long time. I even backed the second project, which was the if I can get it out here, the Fairy Enchanter's Grimoire. So it's like the card are let's see. It's starting to fall apart. I already contacted them. They're going to try and send me a new one. But yeah, so you get, where are the cards? Here we go. So you get like the cards in full image, and a big write-up about them.
Whoa, what a book.
It's a huge book, and
I-
it's already falling apart because I've been using it quite a bit.
Ginger Faye has fairy enchantments too. Yeah, I haven't seen it for a long time.
One thing I really love about it is, well, okay, the sides are rose gold, but it's not just like a deck. Throwing cards at you. Each card has an image, and then on the back, it has a write-up about them.
Oh, I think these are the ones as well that Summer from Astaria Zen was using for a while when she was doing something on her channel. Yeah, so that might have been one of the places I've seen them.
So I don't really use this as an oracle. I use it more as like a book of shadows. Because the way it works is you have 3, and then you mix and match so that the first word, the second word, and the third word are mixed and matched to create the spell you want, and then you mix the runes. And then each card also has like a list of color, stone, time, plant, animal, bird, object, and place. So you actually create a spell with the cards. And one of the things I've been doing, I have my little book here that I've been kind of going bonkers with. Let's see. Trying to get past people's soul cards here, but I've been using them to create these runes. And what I want to do eventually is use the runes to like create little talismans. You know,
Wow.
if I'm going to have a store with runes, I might as well have like talismans with runes too, right? So each one is like, I create a little saying, and then I combine the runes into a new sigil. And then the name is the fairy guide that you work with if you're working with that rune or sigil. So
wow. Okay, so we all have more to look forward to.
I have so one of the things that you do with this is there's 3 cards that are tied into your sun, moon, and rising. I'm trying to find there we go. So there's a little booklet that came with it. It works better with the grimoire. You can see a little better, but
yeah.
So each sign has a specific card. So these 3 are mine. And that's Thaddeus. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. Bran and Rhiannon. And so that means basically those spells that you can make with those 9 words are what you're best at in this life.
Yeah.
And one of the things that they had you do, one of the exercises was, okay, there's sounds to each card, and you're supposed to blend it together to find what your fairy guide's name is. And so I did that, and then they were like, well, what does your fairy guide look like? I'm like, he won't show me unless I paint him. So I ended up painting him.
Those are, it's just so creative on so many levels. And I think
my fairy guide, he insisted on being on this.
Neiman
I was doing stuff for show and tell. He's like, I want to be on it. I want to be on it.
We've got Neiman and Mendy enabling one another here after seeing that deck. Nothing new for them. That's amazing. Wow.
So
you
I wanted to do a little show and tell, and that one just kind of, it jumped out at me. And I'm like, well, I can't just show the picture. I got to explain a little bit about the.
Yeah. Wow. that. And I do. A lot of people hate cards that are written on the back. If it's an oracle, I actually often really like mine to have the writing on the back. Like,
Right.
it just makes it so much better than me having to go to a guidebook sometimes.
Oh, I forgot to grab that one oracle. I have an oracle, Whispers of the Ocean, and I love it because it just has like a little keyword and then underneath like a little phrase. So it's like it's right there on the card,
Yeah.
which I really appreciate.
Mendy's excuses, it's Neem's birthday, we all need to celebrate. Okay, Mendy, you go. You buy your celebratory deck.
Right. Yeah, the only oracle I have out right now is the Beyond Lemuria.
Oh, I keep looking at that one and in my local shop, and I'm like, no, I don't know. I've spent so much money on decks recently, and multiple ones I'm still waiting to receive. So
That's the backs. And the thing that's interesting about this is the artist like was doing these paintings for like 10 years, didn't even know she was creating an oracle.
oh, is it rude to close my eyes on my own channel? Because I don't want to see it and want it, and then I'll be calling my crystal shop going, can you put that deck aside for me, please?
The thing I do like about it is it's actually the cards are broken into 3 different sections. I mean, they're still shuffled together, but you got your chakras. So like, you know, here's the root chakra.
Neem missed the name of the deck. Beyond Lemuria, is that what it's called?
Beyond Lemuria. Yep. Oh, the kids are here.
Yeah. Back in like an hour or so. Yeah. All right,
oh my God, chaos.
Okay, no problem. All right, guys. So.
What? Hi, Levi.
Can you guys play?
Oh my God.
Okay, so we're gonna play in the room until okay.
Don't worry, guys. We're not going to be on that much longer. Okay? Hey, why don't you go play in your treehouse?
Treehouse, park, or your room. Okay, after Papa's done. Okay.
One treehouse or room. I'll pick the room.
Right? Air conditioning.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is the one I've been working with lately, and I love it. It's a great deck.
Don't tell me that.
Not to,
I want to know.
not to enable anybody, but that's just the one that I have right here. Yeah, everything else is tarot decks.
Wow. And so does anyone have any specific, just like as Jonathan's doing this, if you've got any questions for Jonathan, pop them in.
So last time I mentioned this Tarot for Self-Care book. And the reason why I really like this is that you could do like a 3-card draw for mind, body, spirit, whatever. So say you draw the Tower. I love that it has like these exercises for each one.
Yeah.
So you can actually create a self-care program just with this book. So, and that's what I was talking about, is wanting to use that, like use the Tarot with my health coach program. Because the way this health coach program is set up is like they want me to be a health coach, but they want me to have like the 6-month program. Like, well, I want to be able to set myself aside from all the other health coaches doing 6-month programs, and being able to draw cards specifically for self-care, I think sets me aside.
And Jamie said, is it a workbook, the self-care book?
It can be. It also, the first 3 chapters are just about how to use it. They have multiple readings in here. And then I think chapter 4 is when they start going into the major arcana. And they have like not just the exercises, but they have like upright and reverse meanings. specifically in like the self-care reasons.
I want some poo.
Follow.
I mean food.
Oh my goodness. So yeah, and then the other thing you were asking about past life stuff. This book has got some good spreads in it, the Samsara Tarot, specifically about readings for the reincarnated soul. So it has past life readings. Boys, quiet down, please. But truthfully, I actually, when I'm doing a reading for somebody, this is the spread I use. I think I might have posted this on my Facebook group. So if not, I will. And it's basically just talking about like what unresolved issues are coming in from another life and affecting your life now. And then it's also like what is the important lesson that you have to understand fully in order to resolve the issue, and also what kind of energy or characteristic from that past life you should channel into this life.
Ah.
Yeah.
Okay. That sounds like a good one. I'm going to try that one.
Here, I'll hold it up for you again.
Cool. I'll go and I'll go hunt in your Facebook page as well.
And that's, let's see, who put that out? I like to give credit to people who I get stuff from. So it's Emerald Lotus Divination. I don't even know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I often hear a few people talk about getting their spreads from Emerald Lotus Divination.
Well, before I got this book, I was doing some Google searches or Pinterest searches just to find some good spreads for past life. And this one has kind of jumped out at me as a really good one. And eventually I'm going to want to make my own. These are interesting because they're kind of crazy how big the layout is. And they also do, where is it? They have their own interpretations for the cards.
Okay.
So like, if you're doing one of the past life readings, this card will mean this. The only thing I noticed though is that they are missing the Emperor. Oh no, not the Emperor. Who are they missing? I swear they were missing somebody. No, I'm not seeing it. But they were missing. I remember going through and noticing that they had a card missing. But
Name's been on the shopping train while we've been on here. Her cart's getting heavy.
So, yeah, that was just a couple things I want to touch on.
Yeah. Awesome.
I can't see the comments. So.
Yeah. No, it doesn't look like there's any more questions. But yeah, again, this has just been totally mind-blowing. It's been awesome to have you back and chat again. And yeah, and we cannot wait to see those runes.
Yes, for sure.
Else
Once I get it all like ironed out and create the PDF for it, then I'll show everybody.
Awesome. All right. Well,
We've really been on for an hour and a half.
Yeah, it goes so fast.
It's crazy.
And thank you for everyone who has joined us. Thank you for coming back again and sharing this, Jonathan. It has
of course.
Been mind-blowing.
Thank you, Jen, for having me.
Yeah, anytime. It's been an absolute pleasure and just so interesting. So, yeah. All right. Yeah, thank you, everyone. And yeah, Jonathan and I will both see you on our channels. I've got Jonathan's link in the description box to his channel. So, yeah. All right. Take care and sending love.
Aloha.